Welcome to the Spirituality What? Podcast, where we explore the mysteries, joys, and challenges of being spiritual beings navigating our unpredictable human experience we call life here on planet Earth. I'm your friendly guide, Rebecca, ready to jump into our adventure of the day. Welcome to Wednesday, Spirituality What? Listeners, we are back this week with part 2 of Nattie Boss and Jiu-Jitsu and spirituality. This week we are going to get into a little bit more of what we mean by energy and how we integrate our full experience, the physical, the energetic, and the spiritual aspect of Jiu-Jitsu, and also just overall, what is spiritual well-being and how does Nattie accomplish spiritual well-being in her life? Thanks for joining today. You talk a lot about energy and you've mentioned the energy a lot. And so I want to dig in a little bit to that. And so that we've talked about energy on the podcast before, more in the context of like psychedelics, and that when you do psychedelics by yourself versus when you do psychedelics with other people, there's just this huge change and like a huge dynamic in the energy. And you talked a little bit about this and about how like every single fight is different because the person is different, because you're different, because you're having a bad day. And I'm assuming, or because you're having a good day, right? But all of that plays into it. And when you're talking about energy, we're not talking about, like, just to clarify for the audience, we're not talking about like, are you tired or are you not tired? Like physical energy. We're talking about, I don't know, just like the deeper kind of energy. Like, how would you describe this type of energy to somebody?
So the way that I've always been really intrigued and obsessed with behavior change and patterns, being in the realm of healing and just performance and behavior change, starting off like in health journey stuff. That has always been my curiosity of just, why am I behaving in a certain way? And so what I've learned about energetics and how it plays a role is that recognizing patterns and our behaviors and how they show up, and knowing that everything, first of all, I think really just coming down to the basic idea that we are energy. We are made of cells, which are made of atoms, which are made of subatomic particles, which is literally energy. And the reason why we are solid is because of the pace at which they are moving very fast, and we're solid, right? So if we really look at ourselves through the lens of being energetic beings, like literally made of energy, everything that we do has, what I've learned in my energetic work that I've gotten with my mentors, has been like these energetic configurations. So every pattern that we have that keeps showing up in our life, every belief, everything that is playing out on repeat that we feel like, why isn't this going away? Or why do I keep having this thought? Why do I keep acting in this way? It's a certain energetic configuration and our energetic configurations are either expanding us into our highest self or our divine self, or they're contracting us into our lower selves. And so when it comes down to energy, it's really, for me, energy is about how you be. So it's how you be. So it's the energy that you're holding, the emotions that you're holding, the emotional state. So for me, that's really what I'm looking at from energy, is like the emotional body. It's the intangible. It's not what we can see.
Okay.
It's what we feel.
It's what we feel. It's what we intuit.
Yeah, from the intuition. And we have an energetic, body around us. And the way that we move and operate in life can give us direct feedback as to our configuration. And it also comes back into, these configurations also influence our physiology, where, one of the things that I work with when it comes to changing our energetic configurations, which is releasing the stuck energy in our body that's keeping us contracted in a certain configuration. And so whatever belief systems we have at that configuration, whatever habits we have at that configuration that are keeping us small, keeping us stuck, we need to release that energy in order to be able to create literally a different us, we can always
Absolutely.
reinvent
Yes.
ourselves. But I think what most people are doing is trying to reinvent themselves on the surface by doing,
Yeah.
they're trying to do more
Without,
things, which I appreciate, right? Like I appreciate you wanting to eat more or eat better. I appreciate you wanting to go to the gym and, exercise and get fit for your health, right? But at some point or another, there will be a block. And this happens all the time. People will quote
yeah.
unquote fall off track. People will self sabotage even when they're doing well and things are going well. And those blocks are because we are capped at a certain capacity until we free the energy in our system.
Yeah. So based on the patterns and where the energy is stuck, it's like you can only go so far till you unstuck that energy, right? Like you thought you were making change, but
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's really what I've noticed is it's going into the deeper layers of what facilitates deeper change. And it's really doing that deeper work within the tissues because it's all stuck in our, it's stuck in our nervous system, it's
yeah,
stuck in our
stuck in our like
tissues.
physical
That's
body. Yeah.
Yeah. So doing somatic work, doing energetic work is really the key to opening up our system and changing our configuration so that when we change internally, the habits that we want to take or the actions that we want to take are going to be able to
Absolutely.
actually come into fruition
Yeah,
and be
totally.
easier in that process without that resistance or those blocks that are keeping us set
Yeah.
at that certain point.
So, though, are those aspects of jujitsu in itself, or are those complementary sort of approaches that you've implemented in your holistic approach, the somatic work and all of that?
Well,
Okay.
I integrate it with everything because I tell people all the time jiu-jitsu is a mirror for what we get to work on and know within ourselves, but it's just one facet of our life. These things that I'm talking about from an energetic perspective, jiu-jitsu is just one
Yeah,
facet where
yeah.
it's showing up.
Okay, so you see it there, but it's not like the workouts for jujitsu or however the practice is. They don't facilitate working on that. You have to do it alongside.
Yeah, you need to basically go within. You need to do the deeper work. Like there's just literally no other way. And so a lot of the conversations and questions I may ask to probe this is similar to what we talked about in the beginning of this, which was okay, your tendency is to run away of a jujitsu match. Where are you running away in your
Mm-hmm.
relationships? Where are you running away in your career? And then going deeper within that, more than just
Yeah.
gaining awareness around that, why are we running away? What is the underlying fear?
Yeah,
Where is the
totally.
block? Where is the basically the traumatic experience, whether it's big T or little t trauma? There's an experience that happened in our human body, or it could be generational even, um, generational,
Oh,
multi-life,
absolutely.
things like that. But regardless, it's preventing us from being able to move forward. So I do a holistic approach and I focus on performance, but there's been ample amounts of times where just in the work that they initially come to me for improving their performance, it does work because we focus on those deep shifts. But what I'll also notice is I have had many women leave toxic
Oh,
relationships in the work that I
oh,
do.
that's beautiful. I just got goosebumps. I
I,
get goosebumps a
I
lot
have
on this podcast, but that's awesome.
I have many women who have had career
Oh,
changes.
cool.
Like I'm not a career coach. I'm not like in the sense of like identifying. I'm not a career coach. I'm not a relationship coach. But what I am is a coach with your relationship to self.
The most important one.
And so you as you strengthen your relationship to self, you're going to start to know where in your life things are just out of alignment as you become more in alignment with yourself. And so you always have a choice once you have that awareness of do I continue in this path and monotonous way that I've been operating. One of my biggest, most proud moments as far as a student was somebody who was a police officer and is now a meditation teacher.
Whoa, that is quite a change. Wow.
And just to give like a brief overview of like when we did our initial work together, we basically realized that the career of being a police officer fed her fight or
Oh
flight
my
system.
gosh, yes, totally.
It was familiar for her body. She was good at it because her body was used to operating in fight or flight, but it was burning her out. It was making her get mentally
Oh my
admitted.
gosh.
It was literally destroying her. And so when we really like did all that deeper work, she created a life she wanted and created a life of more space, of healing, of doing flowers and gardening.
Very cool.
And like it was a complete life shift, but it could have only happened if through doing the inner work,
Totally. Absolutely.
you know, and really moving all of that fight or flight energy and developing that deeper connection to self. And then from there, it's not just about like there is a tangible piece of being a
Mm-hmm.
human. It's having these intrinsic shifts, but part of being human is that you need to utilize your physical body to make the action in the
Oh
3D
yeah,
world, in the tangible
absolutely.
world. You know, you need to actually take action, and that's the beautiful unison, like the unity of connecting with our spirituality, connecting with our intuition, our core being, and what we desire, what we want to create in the world, what we want to bring forth, what we want to be known for, what our fullest expression is, but then using our physical body as the vehicle to make it happen.
Yeah, yeah. So this, I want to talk about your approach here, this holistic approach that you have. So Nattie does a lot of stuff with diet, is like a very experienced nutritionist, dietitian. I'm not sure which is the correct one for that right now. This, when you think of this approach and like other jujitsu coaches or jujitsu studios, like what is it? What is a jujitsu place called?
Academy.
Academy. Okay, so other jujitsu academies, is the approach that you have common, or is this super cutting edge and like not everybody is approaching
This
it this
is
way?
cutting edge. This is
Oh,
cutting
cool.
edge.
Awesome.
I'm definitely the only person really doing it to this degree and offering what I offer. I hope that it becomes more mainstream. That's kind of my whole mission. And I do
Okay,
feel that it's
totally.
picking up as far as being referred, and you know, people are associating this holistic approach with me, my business, my team, which is, you
Very
know, the
cool.
goal. But we're just one small unit in the world of billions of people, you know. So it's just we just stay committed to our mission, our vision, and just hopefully we can turn the tides. But we're working in a really hard industry to turn, because the sports industry is very much, you know, grind and just, you know, achieve and just like the sake of accomplishment. And I'm
Yeah,
very,
like medals.
yeah, and I'm a very, very competitive person. Like I'm a competitive person through and through. My biggest mission is to help people achieve their biggest goals that they want, if it is medals, if it is titles, whatever it is, but not at the expense of their well-being.
Yeah, physical.
And that is the cornerstone of everything I do. It's like your well-being comes first,
Absolutely.
your performance.
Absolutely. Physical, mental, whatever.
Yeah, I usually like to use well-being because it just encompasses all of those
Mhm.
facets.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say there's not many. There are some people that do a little bit of mindset work, um, but not at the degree that I'm doing with like energetics and somatics, to my knowledge, at this point. Um, and that I think it's great that they're expanding. I think what is happening, because it takes time. So first there's the physical that people
Mhm.
address, and that's like the tangible
Totally.
things, the fitness, the
Yep.
nutrition. Been there, done that. Still something I do, but I know that true change requires deeper. And then there's the mindset. So people get into kind of like on the mindset train of like, okay, well, you need to rewire some beliefs
Okay.
and, you know, have a certain mindset in order to do better. True. But then there's a deeper level. And that's kind of where I'm at this point, where it's like it goes beyond mindset and it goes into embodiment work, where I think is what is coming up more in this field that I'm seeing, that I'm happy to see, is there's more of the integration of the mindset work, but there's not the true like embodiment
Yeah.
changing yet.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping in the next few years that that can continue to be the case, like utilizing things like breath work and somatics and things like that, especially in the nature of our sport.
Yeah.
Like it's imperative.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know. I'm just so drawn. Like I've never even, I mean, I think like maybe I knew somebody in high school whose dad was like a jujitsu person, like an athlete or maybe a coach or something. And I definitely heard of jujitsu before, but really intrigued by this now. I mean, I'm like a super efficient person. Like I'm not saying that I'm like always doing the most efficient thing, but like a lot of times I think about how efficient things are, and it sounds just efficient to do jujitsu in this holistic fashion. I'm like, oh, I can get healed emotionally. I can do all this connection and healing and get physically ripped. Like, it's like, sounds like a total win-win situation.
Yes, yes. I am too someone like you, and I love efficiency. Love efficiency, and that's definitely something just part of my personality, part of who I am. I love that. And jujitsu is one way to work on many, many parts of yourself at once and just become the best version of yourself.
Yes.
I think, and again, that's why I think people are just so addicted to it.
Yeah. Is it like a big community? Do a lot of people do jujitsu, or is it
Yeah, it's a very big community. It's growing every single year. The female community is growing very, very big, which is awesome. It definitely is still a male dominated sport for
okay,
sure.
sure.
But the female aspect is growing immensely. And yeah, like community is really big. Like whatever academy that you're in, you're going to develop like, a family type of environment. Because at the end of the day, like it's the most vulnerable thing you can do.
Yeah.
You're really putting your full self out there on the mats, and most people hide
Yeah,
themselves,
totally.
in life.
Yeah.
But like on the mats, like I said, there's no hiding. It's the rawest, most like sweatiest and vulnerable version of yourself that you are putting
Yeah.
yourself out there to be. And so because of that, whoever you're in communication with and like connection with and who's in your environment and community, there develops this bond that is
Yeah.
just something that can only be experienced because you guys know really like what it takes.
Exactly. Like there's this a particular type of bond that you create in situations of vulnerability like that. I mean,
Yeah, like you're going all out, you're exposing your weaknesses. Like again, your ego is dying every single
getting beaten
day.
down.
As like
Yeah.
you got 250-pound men being whooped by someone who's 5'2", 120 pounds,
Yes.
choking them out, right? You're forced to be like, I have to let my ego go because otherwise I'm literally going to get choked out.
Yeah.
And like that's a vulnerable thing for a man,
Absolutely.
most men, to do. And so again, they will quit, or they're going to be determined enough to be like, what is this thing? Like, I need to like master whatever this is. And I think that quest for mastery is what keeps people
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
self mastery. It ends up being.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, in relation to this podcast and this human experience, it's like the definition of it doesn't have to be because you just do, like as you said, the physical aspect, and you don't have to have this holistic approach, right? But if you want to have this holistic integrated approach, if you're open to it, if you're willing, if you're ready, you might not be ready, but if you are ready and you're willing and you can go in with this holistic approach, it's like a huge embodiment of spirituality within these physical bodies. I mean, you just said it's like super sweaty. Like it couldn't be more physical. You're wrestling and grappling and touching, skin on skin with another person. It's so physical, and you have an opportunity to. I love the healing part. I love that you talk about that. You use this word healing multiple times. Like you have the opportunity to connect and heal another aspect of you that isn't physical through
Absolutely.
this super physical activity and this super physical sport. And I really love that. I love that so much. You've talked a lot about well-being. What do you do personally for spiritual well-being? Is it all jujitsu, or do you have some other things that you do?
Yeah, so for me, I think the biggest thing that connects me to my spirituality and what I do is I am just, again, energetics really comes up for me. So for me, it's all about connecting to myself on the deepest levels. And that's how I connect to my spirituality. So for me, it's doing a lot of deep introspective work
Mm-hmm.
of connecting to my intuition, always asking for guidance for my intuition, which I know, again, is part of the greater whole. And that is a piece of me that's being divinely guided. So if I can connect and strengthen that connection and lead through that,
Yeah, totally.
then that is me. So
Yeah.
constantly just clearing anything to help me stay deeper connected to that. And also nature. I am literally outside in some capacity every
Yeah.
single day. I've been I just knew from a very young age nature was something that made me feel part of something bigger. And
Sure.
so it is imperative for
Totally.
me to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
out in nature. And it doesn't have to be a trail or anything. Literally, it could be in my yard. It could be in my garage with the door open, the sun's on my skin. Like, I need to be in connection with nature to some degree every single day. And it just really helps me constantly stay
Mm-hmm.
connected to more than just the human experience. It's so easy to feel small when you're just stuck in your human. But the more you connect, so like my work is just
Just
constantly
allowing, yeah.
connecting with myself on deeper levels through my intuition, through feeling, through just literally feeling everything.
Yeah.
And, sometimes doing journaling work around it to understand it more. And other times
Yeah.
just literally letting myself feel it without having to do always the like step by step into like healing work. Like, I think there needs
Mm-hmm.
to be that balance between healing, right? And like, what does this mean? And like, where did this come from? And what are my needs? And how do I meet them? You do that,
Yeah.
and you also just get to feel sometimes. You also just get to cry sometimes, and it doesn't have to have a meaning. There doesn't need to be further explanation. So, like, the balance between both of that and just trusting that that's
Yes.
what I need is just helps me strengthen my spirituality. And then I listen to music. That helps me. I think of frequency, vibrations are really important. I am a huge fan of I'm very, very intentional with what I put in my ears. I
Yes.
don't listen.
Yes. Hallelujah. Welcome to the club, sister. Like, we do not listen to the radio anymore. I cannot stand those lyrics. I'm like, I do not want to repeat that
Yeah,
stuff.
the songs that
Yeah.
I enjoy are always lyrical based. Like if it's a lyric, the reason why I love the song is because of the lyric.
Yes. Because they're great.
Because if it moves me deeply because of the lyric, then it's worth keeping in my life.
Totally.
So in addition to that, I listen to a lot of instrumental,
Yes. Yes, we
like
do too.
a lot of different beats, like just again for the frequency, for the vibe, and again, music does connect us on a deeper level. So I do listen to music as well. Um, but I think another aspect, just to kind of wrap up, but there's a lot of ways I connect my spirituality. I think it usually comes hand in hand with nature, but I do it in my house too, is literally being. Like
Mm.
I love stillness and quiet, which is very interesting because I grew up in nothing but chaos.
Yeah.
I've been hardwired into chaos. And so the moments I have of stillness, I like just quickly amplify. Like just really let myself like be and appreciate and be grateful for and just really feel into that because that's where I feel the most like expansive and connected
Mm-hmm.
is when I'm really allowing myself to just be in that stillness, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
always work for me
Totally.
because my nervous system is very much hardwired into chaos. So I
Yes.
have the awareness and I constantly have to make that shift. It's gotten way better over the years where it's like more of a natural state, but that's easily my tendency to go back into an old pattern or habit.
Yes. Yes. I'm totally with you. I'm a doer. I'm like a constant do, do, do. And I've been working a lot on meditation for a couple of years, and I'm pretty happy with my practice now. I mean, of course, like there's, all things are always changing, and like what you said, like it's just being like that's just tough, like just sitting there and just like being with your thoughts and your feelings. It's
One of
like
my mantras in that is first of all, I always come back to safety. Safety is a big part of my practice
absolutely.
because really it's all it is. It's a constant reminding that I am safe to be. That I
Yes.
don't have to be doing, that my worth isn't defined by my productivity. So there's always this mantra around like it's safe to be here right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's safe to be in this space. And just like it's safe to be in stillness. Those are just like mantras I use all the time.
Yeah.
And just allowing myself. So whenever I notice myself having that urge or tendency to want to do something, like I'm just like, just allow, just allow,
Yeah.
you know, and that has just really, really helped. And it just, once I can repeat that mantra and then I feel that visceral shift of like my body
Yeah,
relaxing,
right, in the actual
I'm like,
physical.
okay, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. So you did mention music, and I am getting really excited on that front in the future on this podcast. I'm going to do a couple of episodes on like sound and vibration and frequency and song and music and just all the different aspects of music from all sorts of different perspectives. So it's definitely something to look forward to in the future. And as we are kind of getting to the end here, there's just really one last question, and then we'll wrap up, which is, what is one tip about living as a spiritual being in this human existence that you would share with the listeners?
Yeah. So for me, I would say the biggest thing has been, and then the advice I would give is to stay open-minded and be curious and question everything. I think what's helped me deepen my spirituality and get to the place that I am with my relationship to myself and the relationship to the universe is I've always questioned everything and I've always kept an open mind. And I think that really opens yourself up to just greater perspectives.
Sure.
And the more that we're just honed in on one perspective of our human experience, again, the more kind of human we are. Absolutely. And the less like connected we are to something greater. So I think if there's anything you can do, is start questioning everything, questioning a belief that you have, questioning a habit, an action that you take, a response, a reaction that you make.
Yeah, totally.
Question something that somebody tells you.
Yes.
Instead of just taking everything as truth.
Yes. Like,
I think
does it vibe? Like,
questioning everything and then always checking it in with yourself to be like, is this true for us?
Yes.
And when I say us, it's like all of us. It's like, I always refer to myself as like,
yes.
multiple, but like, is this true for us? Like, what do we feel about this?
Yeah.
What comes up?
Yeah. What does our intuition say?
I've never been somebody to just take anything at surface value. Like anybody, it's been part of my problems in the human experience. I've been rebellious. I've been combative. I've been all of the things that people have put and labeled me as because I never went with the grain. I was always going against the grain. And I really am so grateful for me being so headstrong in that way because it's really what's kept me so curious and open up to just all of the layers of myself and all of life has to offer.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect I would just say is just don't be afraid to feel.
Ooh.
I spent
oh my gosh, that's a big one. Like, holy cow.
Yes. Feeling is really our communication of our soul to our body. Our soul is constantly trying to talk to us and it doesn't have necessarily a voice. Some people can hear, but for the most part, it's going to talk to us through sensations, through feelings, through contraction, through expansion, through energy, right? And so give yourself that gift of feeling and you're going to be able to be more connected to your spirituality and be able to live a more aligned life in your physical realm because you're feeling and feel everything life has to offer. So it's really easy for us to feel the shit because we have a negativity bias. So we're so used to just feeling things that are going wrong and feeling anger, feeling stress, feeling anxious. But one of the things I learned as I deepened my relationship to self was that I had a very distorted and disconnected relationship to anything good. Feel celebration. I never celebrated any of my achievements. I never allowed myself to feel safe, to feel happy. If I felt happy, then I was ungrateful because there was always somebody that was worse, right? I always got the mantra like growing up of there's always somebody worse than you. Okay, well, I guess I should just be miserable. Because if I'm happy, then that, I'm being, proud or being whatever, about being, it's like, no, like really letting myself be in the good as well. So feeling all of it, and the deeper we allow ourselves to feel the bad, the more we can experience the good as well.
Yeah, totally. They go hand in hand.
Life in this physical world is, there's polarity. So if we want to experience, more confidence, more self-trust, more peace, we also have to be willing to experience the yuck as well. And it just deepens our appreciation for all of it.
Absolutely. Yes. Wow. Awesome. That was a great final question. So where can people find you? I'm going to put in the show notes about your website, but for those that are listening, you have, I think, a couple different Instagram accounts and a couple different locations.
Yes. So the best place to connect and chat would be my personal Instagram, which is NattieBossRD. And then there is our kind of my business account, which is growing rapidly, which is amazing for a business account, especially. And this is Body by Boss
Oh, that's awesome.
LLC. So that is kind of like my company, my team and I run it. And so any of those platforms we're on all the time, constantly posting content. And then I would also say, yeah, definitely put the website, and that just will give you all of the resources to everything that we have to offer. And you also get to know a little bit more about my story as well, and kind of the work that I do and everything that I offer as far as that. And I'd say those are the best
Okay.
places to connect. Um, I do have an email that you could put in, but I much rather you DM me. It's just because
Yeah.
I'm there all the time, and
Yeah.
if I want you to email, I can direct you there from my DM. But just
Totally.
stick to me on Instagram. And if you are a female grappler or you decide to become one, I do have a female grapplers only Facebook group that has over
Oh, cool.
9,000 women, and
Oh, that's
I would
awesome.
be more than willing and happy to bring you into that group once you join jiu-jitsu. Maybe this inspires you to do that. And then
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I might have to go down there. I mean, I'm not like closing any doors. I'm always open to trying new things.
yes,
So,
and one thing I will say, if that's the route for you or anyone listening, is that when starting anything new, but particularly in the context of jiu-jitsu, give yourself 30 days of consistency before you make a decision.
okay, like a real
Like I
trial.
said, jiu-jitsu's hard.
Yeah.
Don't go one day of your 30 days and say, it's not for me. Go 3 times a week for 30 days. And if you're not hooked by the end of it, then give yourself permission to leave.
Yeah, right. So, you at least tried it. You did some due
Exactly.
diligence at
But
that
I'd be
point.
willing to bet you probably will stay. At least for a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely willing to try. So, thank
Thank you.
you.
It was amazing having this conversation. I love bridging the gap between martial arts and spirituality, and just always offering what I have to share and my thoughts and perspectives. So thank you for having me.
Yes, Nattie, this was wonderful. And that wraps it up. Part 2 of our journey into spirituality and jujitsu with Miss Nattie Boss. Such an interesting conversation. I would encourage everybody to head over to Nattie's Empowered Athlete podcast. It's not just for athletes. Nattie has a lot of really interesting content on there about goal setting and trauma, and because of her holistic approach to her coaching, there's quite a few episodes of that podcast that I found really intriguing and interesting as somebody who's not really athletic. And I will keep you all posted on the potential trial of the local Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Have a good one. Thank you for joining me on today's Spirituality What? Adventure. Subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. Visit us on Instagram at spirituality.what to interact, tell us what spirituality means to you, and even provide some of your own personal musings. Human on, you phenomenal spiritual beings.